A Dragon's Lament, written by CrystalMoonlightII and read by Goombasa.
You want to know something, Robin? Being over 1,000 years old makes you awful lonely. My human body might not age quickly, but I've been here for a very long time.
Nowi had always held a dream close to heart. She'd wanted more than anything over the empty centuries and the cold nights alone to find somebody to share her heart with. Very few understood her. Even fewer had the nerve to get close to her. A young woman at first sight with the power to shift into the shape of the mightiest winged beast. For years, she'd smiled and tried to live a life of innocent cheer, but deep down, it was getting too heavy a burden to numb the weighty pain in her chest, the sadness of always being alone. Robin, however, he was different. No matter the situation or the odds they faced, he'd always stayed beside her, been a friend beyond compare, indulged in the warmth of her fun and games, and done everything he could to fill her with a smile of true sentiment. Nowi. Robin smiled sadly, sitting at her side, watching the final embers of orange fade away as the sun fell low behind the hills. He shuffled close, placing a hand upon her shoulder. It felt nice. I can hardly imagine what seeing a world pass you by feels like. You've been awake so long. Must have seen so many things. I suppose it's why I've always found you to be so interesting.
Yeah.
It hurt to think with too much weight toward the past. The people she'd seen slip away. In fact, the kind of feeling it left behind was heavy. So heavy.
I suppose that's why I do my best to keep on smiling, because...
The words lodged in her throat, her mighty Manakete heart thundering quickly than she'd felt in so very long. Shaking her head, her eyes misted up with watery emotion.
Because it doesn't hurt any less. Every time I have to wish somebody I care about goodbye, it breaks my heart a little more. If I don't smile, I want to cry.
Nowi couldn't keep it all in for an instant longer. Her fragile feelings cracked like a mirror, shattering into ephemeral fragments within the void. She didn't know why, couldn't find the words to explain why she felt it, but the urge to hold Robin overtook her. Nowi, please don't. Robin wrapped his arms around her middle, eyes soft and caring, and his embrace even softer, sweeping her up into a heartfelt, compassionate hold. Nowi didn't even have a moment to respond to her feelings. Cheeks flushed bright red. You're one of my nearest and dearest besides Crom. My fierce dragoness. God, seeing you like this is too much.
Robin,
Nowi whispered, burying her head in her chest. It nuzzled between the overcoats of his tactician robes. She breathed him in, so sweet and gentle, like a vanilla flower.
I'm afraid to lose you too. You're not afraid of the fact that I'm a dragon. You don't distance yourself. You've been there for me since the moment Gregor and I arrived in camp.
She smiled, the beautiful memories of their first meeting returning. How he'd played foolish games at her side and burned time purely for the amusement, purely to pick her up when secretly, behind another one of her happy fronts, she'd felt so very upset. But of course I did. Robin held her even tighter. Their shared warmth, their closeness, bringing the little red organ in the middle of her chest to pound in a melee of musical beats. Fire burned across Nowi's cheeks. She'd do anything for him to hold her like this again. There's no reason for me to be afraid of you. No reason for you to turn me away. You treat everybody you meet with such kindness and warmth, and yet there's always something mysterious about you. Their gazes locked, Nowi wiping tears against Robin's clothes. There she stayed, almost hypnotized, lost in the trance as the soft brown of his eyes held her.
Mysterious, huh? Well, you might just be right there, Mr. Tactician. When you've been around as long as I have, experienced so much, an aura of mystery floats around you.
Well, Robin paused abruptly, hiding from their shared gaze. What was wrong? His face was flushed all of a sudden, bright enough to shine like a lantern in the wake of the setting sun. I suppose that's why I've always tried my best to get to know you, Noe. I want to learn more about the world you lived in before all this, about the person you are. I care about you.
He what?
Noe froze, the world and everything around her falling into a moment of stillness. Robin cared about her? The closeness she'd felt for all this time, the yearning she'd had to stay by his side, to treasure even more than friendship, was it mutual? That only made her hidden feelings all the more bittersweet. With all of her heart, she clung on, a fresh torrent of watery emotion pooling, the crystalline lines leaking from her eyes.
I care about you too, Robin. Of course I do, silly. But I'll live for so long. What happens when...
Shh. The tactician silenced her with a finger upon the lips, a tiny, sad smile curving his lips. He did little more than shake his head, lean in to rest his head upon Noe's petite shoulder. There he stayed, holding her like a fragile doll. I'm barely past 20. We don't need to think about that for a long time, so I'll just say it, while I'm brave enough to admit it, before we return to battle with Walhart's forces. I love you, Noe, with all my heart. I want us to experience the joys of life together, even if yours will last a lot longer than mine will. I'm not afraid of that, and you shouldn't be either. Robin brushed his lips against one of her pointed ears, edging down gently to place a fragile kiss against her lips. It tingled against her skin, warming her body from the cold sadness she'd felt. It made her feel less Manakete and more human. Marry me, won't you? Stay with me. Keep on being my beautiful dragon until the war ends. And beyond that, too. Let's end all of the conflict alongside Crom, Lucina, and all the others. Noe couldn't suppress a short gasp. Couldn't stop her heart from skipping a beat, either. Great. Here she was, crying all over again, sobbing. She knew her answer. More than that, she knew her answer from the very beginning. Locking with the wonderful sight of Robin's brown eyes again, basking, melting in the unforgettable sight of his smooth, handsome face, she nodded frantically, squeezing tight with everything she had.
Yes, of course I will be your wife, and use my powers to protect you from anybody in the world that'd try to hurt you. I love you, Robin. I've felt that same way for a very long time.
Without a word, Noe pulled her beloved in close, stealing his lips and taking them for herself. Holding him with everything she had, soft, compassionate moans of deepest love, of truest longing slid out as they kissed with truest passion. There was nothing to be afraid of, Noe told herself, enjoying the sweet sensation of Robin's lips as the kiss deepened and her hands subconsciously brushing through his hair. There was nothing to be afraid of. As long as they had each other, as long as they continued to fight side by side, the dearest friends and the most committed of lovers, they'd be happy. When Robin finally broke away, gasping for breath amid the powerful exchange, he reached out to likewise brush his fingers through Noe's strands of silky golden hair. To think a lady as gentle as you could kiss with such fire. Gods, I can feel a heat burning across my skin. Oh, really? Noe couldn't help but give a playful wink at his words, swooping in one last time.
Boop.
This time she placed a far more delicate peck against his cheek.
Sorry,
she giggled.
When you've been around for as long as I have, you pick up a few pointers here and there. Anyway, that doesn't matter now.
Alive with sunshine and feeling happier than she had in a very long time, Noe gave a playful smirk.
Doesn't this mean we have to have a wedding now? Oh wow, me, married, I can hardly wait!
Robin smiled, linking his hand with Noe's, gently caressing her slender fingers with his own. It certainly does. I can only imagine how much joy another wedding will bring, especially after Crom and Sumia's. Of course. Noe relaxed in Robin's embrace, watching with quiet adoration as the final rays of light faded away. For the first time in so very long, she felt truly, deeply happy. The end.